unfortunately. After we're up, I have to refresh the page so that the event loads on the page. Bop, 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 bop. Hello. There we go.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Your mic is not working.
What an experience. Do we need the fan power on this as well?
I honestly don't know.
Fire hoses are fun. I just wanted to remind you. So I've been tracking your campaign stuff. I look at it on Facebook and things.
Yeah. For 3 minutes, you may just need to grab a stick, Mike.
The input all just not working here? Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Somebody who is not
Check,
into
check, check.
politics.
You're not?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check, check, check. I'm seeing the VU move.
That's just ambient sound right there.
Talking to complete strangers.
That's weird. This doesn't have enough fan power for this mic. It has enough for your Audio Technica.
And now, the good thing is if I
I don't know, but
the wall doesn't allow it.
I'd grab a stick, Mike. And we're gonna have to undo whatever we did for phantom power on that. Hi guys. Bill bought a brand new microphone, and we're trying to shake it down, and that's a 5-yard penalty for delay a game. But you know, we'll be right with you.
2 minutes?
Yeah, about that.
Need a refill? You good?
I'm good. Me neither.
Ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yes.
A wooden
Will it be
bow
worth it
tie.
for you? It gives you good content.
A wooden bow tie with feathers.
Have you seen
Yeah.
these? Have you seen these things? These wooden bow
think so.
ties?
I don't think I've seen them.
They're very popular in the gay community.
Yeah, I walked that line. I'm straight, but I walked the line. So
All right, here we go.
where's the camera right there? Okay.
Camera's right there, so you need to come around the side a little bit.
All right. Tell me when I'm in.
All right, a little more. There you go. There you go. There we go.
I can also zoom that out, by the way. He doesn't.
No, we're good.
Lori, I'm not trying to be in your personal space.
No, no,
You're good. They just.
Okay. We seem to be ready to rock and roll, and we thank you very much for being with us. We are at La Divina on Perkins and Acadian.
La
here in
Divina
Baton Rouge.
Italian Cafe. Mary
La
gets all
Divina
Mary
Italian-
gets all angry if you don't say
Well,
the Italian
and
Cafe.
she should. It's proper branding. La Divina Italian Cafe, and we always appreciate Lance and Mary LeBlanc and their hospitality, and of course the delicious food cooked by Chef Eric here every morning.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So, how you been?
Excellent, excellent. A little stormy outside this morning, isn't it?
A little bit.
A little rainy, a little drizzly.
Last time we were here, we were talking about Governor Blanco. Today is the visitation in Lafayette,
Gonna kill this.
and then the burial, which is private, will be tomorrow.
Yep.
Big crowd at the Capitol yesterday paying their respects to former Governor Blanco. There is a lot going on in town. The Fête Rouge is tonight. The grand tasting, all the great chefs competing. By the way, if you have a ticket and you're there, you get to vote. The wines also competing. Kevin and I will be judges.
Along with the lovely Mrs. Perfita.
So Franz, we need to know exactly what the amount of bail is for a first offense.
Do we know what we're judging? Do we know what category? Because there's certain kinds of wine that not so much.
I don't think they have the
German whites are not a big favorite of mine. Okay.
we have done reds in the past. I think we'll probably be doing the reds.
So I hate to say this. I can't, because of my dietary low sugar, low carb, I can't do wine.
Really?
But
Oh.
I cannot.
Actually, I thought he converted to Islam.
Assalamu alaikum. I cannot, and it's unfortunate because I really love red wine. I just can't imbibe red wine like I used to. I'm miserable the next day. Like it's headache, like a hangover. Like even if I just have one or two glasses, it's
Sulfites.
it's a discomfort that and it's weird. So now I'll drink white wine when I'm off the diet, and I love white wines, but no rosés for Franz.
You like a little Chardonnay?
A little Chardonnay, Pinot Gris.
I have been
Pinot
told.
Gris,
See, Karen, because Karen has migraines. The reds are a trigger for her migraines.
Right.
So she has to be very, very careful about that. About the only ones, your mic stand's about to come off the table and it's going to hit you right in the you-know-what. Yeah.
Without missing a beat.
That's a technical.
Morning Exiles, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a technical term. But anyway, she can tolerate wines from the Rhone.
Okay.
Chateauneuf de Pop, things like that. But like American Merlot or Cabernet, it just gets you. I was told by a wine guy they now have a very small, you can take it with you to a restaurant, filter that takes out most of the sulfites, and it works like the decanter filters that you put in the neck of the decanter bottle to get any cork or sediment out of old wines. It works like that, but it has a tendency to take a lot of the sulfite out.
And that's what gives you the headache.
So let me ask you this question, Bill Perfita, and I'd like to think I know Bill Perfita pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Perfita sitting at a table with Karen and sees a couple to his right pulling out a decanter and pouring the wine through the decanter to get out the stuff. There's a thought or a series of thoughts that come to Bill Perfita's brain.
Yeah, there are.
Okay. You'd be okay. You're on board with the idea of
I am.
enjoying the wine, but
Don't do it in front of me like a sissy.
yeah, you hand it to the waiter and say, "Do it in the back," right?
And what probably happens is the couple in the restaurant that would do it at the table, they're probably drinking like a $7 bottle, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Boone's Farm restaurant wine. So.
Yes, indeed. But they will have some very good wines that we'll be judging tonight, and of course
yeah.
you're a ticketed guest, so
I'm
you
not
can try them
supposed
all.
to say this out loud. I am a food judge.
Oh, okay.
Don Bergeron is rolling around right now because I just said that loud. But so like you guys, I get to judge. I'm excited. The food is, and this is an event that you don't want to miss, right? Mm-hmm. How many different restaurants? I mean, it's a ton of different restaurants.
Like 35, something
yeah,
like that.
if you leave there hungry or unhappy, that's on you.
Well, and there's two different judging. They have the professional judges that judge food and wine, and then everybody who's there
Right.
gets
Like a people's choice.
gets a vote.
Sure.
So you have people's choice on both wine and the three. I think food you have appetizers, entrees, and desserts.
Right.
So you get to judge all of that. So what are you gonna? Are you the keto judge?
I'm breaking keto tonight.
Keto judge.
I'm breaking keto tonight. I'm in a weight loss challenge with a radio personality from another channel that we won't talk
can
about.
say his
Brian
name.
Haldane.
Our buddy
And
Brian.
so
Yeah.
I've been working out rigorously, and so the trade-off is I can eat a little bit more because I'm actually burning calories now. Whereas before I lost like a whole bunch of weight not exercising, which was, by the way, wonderful. But I've got to incorporate both. So I will be cheating, Bill. I'll be cheating tonight, and it's going to be worth every bite of it.
I saw your post about asking about riding a bicycle, and there was one really good answer. If you're talking about riding one on the streets, you need to talk to a psychiatrist.
I think
It's
I'm going to
dangerous to ride
so
a bike in
I
this
think
town.
ultimately the conclusion I came. So I like the idea of riding around Baton Rouge, like the
Yeah.
idea of going because I'm a walker. I'll walk down Government. I'll walk in Mid City. But the idea of riding around was great until the reality set in of where am I going to ride? Like, where am I going to ride that I'm not going to get hit by a bad Baton Rouge driver? And then I got really nervous about it, and so I'm thinking I'm going to do like a spin or something like that. They have a new thing where there's like a TV or something in front of you. I can't think of the name of it. There's a term for it. But, yeah, it's like a hamster on a wheel. You just spin.
Uh-huh.
It's a Bowflex product.
Yeah. I want to see.
Can't remember
I want to see the mountains while I ride and all this stuff.
Or you could have a
so-
spin class on the TV screen in front of you
Yeah.
while you ride.
There's been a lot of interest in me purchasing bicycle shorts and outfits, so that may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
See,
about that.
I've never understood that. Why do you have to have a costume to ride a bicycle?
Well, why do you have to have a
think it's about-
costume to fish for bass?
God help us.
So, I mean, do you live in a quiet neighborhood? 'Cause I live in
So-
Shenandoah. You can ride a bike all day in Shenandoah. It's
So
not a problem.
I live off of Government in Mid City, near Mercy, and it is quiet to the degree that Government is loud, and Florida is loud. But yeah, it's a quiet neighborhood, and I walk down Government, which in the afternoons is a downright pleasant walk. I walk from one end of Lobdell all the way down to Mercy and Berger. It's great. It's a great walk, and look, sometimes I'll go Goodwood. Goodwood's a great walk, but they don't have a walk path. So yeah, it allows me to get some exercise, clear my head. As a criminal defense attorney, there's a lot going on all day long that I just like to decompress about.
Kev says, please, no bike shorts.
Yeah.
No promises.
Yeah, Kevin asked if you lived in a quiet neighborhood. I was thinking the appropriate question would be do you live in a neighborhood that can tolerate you in spandex?
I don't wear spandex when I walk, so I may maintain that policy.
Well, no, I was referring to the bicycle riding question.
Those outfits don't leave a lot to the imagination, do they?
Well, no, and again, when you're someone of size.
Right. Portly.
Substance.
Well, no, I wasn't going there.
Plus size.
Because you've lost a lot of weight. But when you're someone of size, those little tiny seats have a tendency to disappear, and all you see. Never mind. It looks like two puppies having a fight as you go past.
I'm at 40 years old. Walking is great because it's low impact. It's low impact. It doesn't. I can get a good workout in, and not running is problematic just because my knees get sore. So yeah, I don't. The bicycling thing sounds great in theory, but it may not really come to fruition.
You know what you should take up? Tennis.
Tennis sounds great.
I used to play doubles tennis with 5 other guys, and what we would have is 4 people on the court, 2 sit out for one game of a set, and then they go in, 2 people sit out. But anyway, we played for about 3 hours twice a week.
Okay.
And I was in the best shape of my life playing tennis.
I like it. I'm all about hitting green balls with a.
Tennis is that's a big stamina game.
We used to do racquetball, and racquetball was fun, but I mean it was a lot less moving around. And
I tried it one time, and this was while I was playing tennis. And I found that the room was too small and the racket was too short, or the room was too hot and the racket was too short.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we are not here to talk about Franz's personal fitness, as much fun as that is to talk about. There is something that Franz, I thought, was settled. There was a big movement in the legislature of the state of Louisiana last regular session to get rid of these non-unanimous jury verdicts in criminal matters.
Right.
Used to be you could go to jail for 10 years on a 10-2 vote,
right.
where in most states they call that a hung jury.
So it's mostly settled. Okay. Allow me to expand on that.
All right, let's
So
talk.
new law, new constitutional amendment, new cases has to be unanimous. There's 2 questions. One, is that law, even though the constitutional amendment says it's not retroactive, there's Supreme Court case law that seems to indicate it might be retroactive because it is arguably a substantive change of law. And those get applied retroactively. So that's one argument. One argument is, even though the plain language of the constitutional amendment says one thing, are we going to retroactively apply it? Thank you. The other argument, the Ramos case, is whether or not it's just the old law was just principally unconstitutional. And there was a lot of constitutional challenges over the years, but is it unconstitutional based on racial disparity? And to that end, that is going to be at the Supreme Court. The AG's office.
My gut tells me yes.
Yeah, it is. So the AG's office defends constitutional challenges. They have the option, if you're challenging the constitutional nature of a criminal law, they get first bite at the apple. They enroll in the criminal case. They get to argue for the state that the law is constitutional or not constitutional. Mm-hmm. If they don't want to, then the DA's office or whatever prosecuting agency will argue it. So in this instance, Jeff Landry's office is handling, along with a private DC firm, is handling the constitutional argument. He was recently quoted in The Advocate making comments about, yeah, it was rooted in racism, but yeah, now it's more about efficiency, which is terribly troubling. I mean, he has to, I get it, he has to defend his positioning, but man, it's, not only is it seated in racism, but statistically it's.
But the recent post from him was like doom and gloom if this
right,
thing's
the sky's
overturned.
falling, right?
Yeah.
So
is it going to be a catastrophe if the Supreme Court overturns?
I think what happens is this. One, I believe that you have to have lodged an objection to this, or you'll have waived it. Mm-hmm. So take out all the people that got convicted of a non-unanimous but never raised the objection. What you're left with are the people that did raise the objection, okay? And of those people, I don't think you're going to have chaos. I think what you're going to have is some of those people have been doing a lot of jail time, and they may just renegotiate their deals. Mm-hmm. Some of them may be new trials by nature of the unconstitutionality. But you know what? That is the expense of being an outlier. The expense of being an outlier, and by that I mean if you're the two states, Oregon and Louisiana, that was an outlier, mm-hmm. or that were outliers, the cost and expense is you may have some rocky cases have to get fixed on the back end because you wanted to be unique and special, like a special little snowflake. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that I don't care how chaotic or problematic it is. If it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional.
Well, the big argument, which I think, in my opinion, held some water at the front end of all of this, was that it was basically used largely in rural areas to convict minority defendants when they didn't have real strong cases.
So the original commentary on this 1800s constitutional amendment, it was to perpetuate white supremacy. That is in the commentary. Fact not in dispute. That's why Jeff Landry can't say it was never rooted in racism, mm-hmm. because it was rooted in racism. And you're absolutely right. Where this really comes into play is rural parishes where the racial disparity is just not constitutionally sound. And that's the problem. So hopefully, and the Supreme Court, look, I'm not going to blow sunshine and rainbows. The Supreme Court traditionally has not said that this is inappropriate for you not to have a unanimous jury system. This is what's weird about the Ramos case is we think that they're taking that issue up because they're finally embracing that it is a racial disparity. And remember, the Advocate did the statistical analysis, which mm-hmm. was very helpful, mm-hmm. of showing and the breakdown. They had a hearing where all that was presented. So I think it's poignant. I think it's ripe for change. And yeah, I understand why Jeff Landry is taking the position he's taking, because he has, as the attorney for the state who's trying to uphold the Constitution, he has to defend it, but it's a bad posture to defend.
There's only one other state that does split jury verdicts, correct. And it might surprise a lot of people.
Oregon.
One of the most liberal states in the country.
But it's still for racial reasons. If you look up the history of Oregon, same context of original settlers versus immigrants and racial.
Maybe a different race. They had a
lot, Asian.
They had a lot of Asians.
It was Asian.
They had a lot of Chinese people in Oregon.
That were pretty much indentured, working on railroad and mining. But here's the whole thing. Bring it down to the level of the people here at La Divina. The thing is, I or she or whoever walks through that door next could be accused of, I don't know, embezzling $1,000 from their workplace. That's a felony, okay? Right. State's got a weak case, but they don't have a lot of money for the best defense attorney in town. So the state presents a case, and it's hung up at 10-2. and next thing you know, you're going to jail for 5 years.
Under the old law, yes.
Yeah, under the old law.
Right.
And I don't see why anybody would have a problem with unanimity in jury verdicts. I just don't understand why anybody would
I
have
think
a problem.
anybody that's been accused of a crime would have no problem with a unanimous jury. I think what's hard for a lot of people is a lot of people walk around thinking, I'm never going to be accused of a crime. And so it's never going to happen to me. But when you put them in that position, I absolutely agree with you. Most people in this coffee shop, they're like, remember when the constitutional amendment was happening and we were talking? Most people didn't even realize.
Right.
Most citizens were like, wait, it's not unanimous? I thought
Right.
it was unanimous.
Right.
You mean I can be convicted by 10 people with 2 people having reasonable doubt? So yeah, I agree with you. I think most people would be okay with this. It's just Jeff Landry has to argue the sky is falling chaos route because it's, I mean, if I were him, that's the best argument he really has at this point. But
I just don't understand how they're going to. I mean, I understand that the AG, unfortunately, is saddled
Right.
with defending
Right.
all these unconstitutional laws that cost us millions. He has to defend them. That's part of his
the gig.
That's part of his mantle of office.
Right.
Ronnie Johns, thank you very much for the stripper bill. But
It's a great bill.
yeah, but when you have during the hearings on this, when you have the DA from Lake Charles testifying, saying, "Well, it sure makes it a hell of a lot easier on us."
Yeah.
That's not a good reason.
So let me say this, and nobody has really been saying this out loud. Understand, this is a double-edged sword. I tried, as you guys know, a East Feliciana rape case a while back. It was a 10-2 verdict under the old law. Mm-hmm. So under the new law, it would have been a hung jury. Mm-hmm. Under the new law, it would have been a retrial. Under the old law, it was a guilty as charged, right? But let's say it was the flip side. It cuts both ways. Let's say I have 10 people that think not guilty and 2 people who are firm on guilt. Mm-hmm. Well, we're retrying that case too. So it cuts both ways. As much as it may make the life of the prosecutor, quote unquote, more difficult, there are cases that I've won sometimes, guys, that were not unanimous. So,
Well, now we get into a whole other area, and this is an issue with a lot of people that are in media. It's an issue with a lot of people that like to talk, at the hardware store or at the gas pump. And the thing is, I was always taught that our system of justice is supposed to strive for as close to being perfect on the law and the facts as possible, and that protects not only the rights of the accused, but it protects the integrity of the system.
and the jury. It protects the jury too.
Yeah.
We don't want jurors to be in a position where they convict somebody that's is in fact innocent. So
So, I mean, so you start to get into these arguments. I know that people have called defense lawyers names. The fact is the Constitution guarantees every defendant a defense. But why would anyone argue against a system that would be so fundamentally flawed on the front end for the jury as to cause the veracity of the entire system to come into question?
it's troubling, right? It's troubling to hear a prosecutor, and I was a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. It's troubling to hear a prosecutor be so concerned about getting the conviction that they're willing to compromise unanimous versus non-unanimous. Now, when we had the constitutional amendment, when it was going through the legislature, we saw a lot of, with the exception of Jeff Landry, we saw a lot of DAs say, you know what, this is a good thing. This is rooted in racism. We need to evolve.
Our own
We're-
district attorney ever more.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Landry didn't do that, but that's another topic for another day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I agree.
maybe he knew this was going to land at his feet.
Maybe, I don't know. And look, and I'm not casting, and I want to be clear, the fact that he hired a DC firm, that's not meant, that nugget of fact is not meant to cast any dispersions on him. That I want my AG hiring experts in the field of Supreme Court argument and litigation. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the state spending money on that. That's a good thing, right? So
I would do it if you're gonna argue it. Is this gonna go all the way to the Supreme Court? You think?
it is at the Supreme Court.
Oh, it's at the Supreme Court.
Ramos, Ramos, the Ramos case. So we'll be talking about it some more.
Love his gin fizzes, by the way. Hate it when somebody orders it in a crowded restaurant because it always seems to tie up 8 bartenders for 30 minutes.
Oh Lord.
You feel like doing 30 seconds on a viewer question?
Sure.
Wayne has said he'd like to know your opinion on politician judges.
I believe, and here's a golden one for you. As someone who has considered running for judge, I don't like the idea of judges being politicians and taking sides and parties. A good judge is a umpire that calls balls and strikes. Now, we elect our judges in the state system, so they have to campaign, they have to run for office, and they have to sometimes align themselves with parties to get elected. I'm not foolish, but I really don't like the fact that a judge runs as a Republican or a Democrat. It's balls and strikes. The judge reads the law and says, this is what I think the law is, these are the facts, and they apply it.
Yes, but long before these men and women are judges,
Right.
they vote for political parties or align with the. You can't tell a tiger to lose his stripes.
Oh, I agree.
Now,
But
He asked me what I thought about it. It's not,
Well, we have an apparent problem in the federal court system where judges seem to be
Appointed for
lined
life.
up, and they're also lined up ideologically
But
politically, yes.
with party policy.
So the difference, though, is in federal, whether it's Supreme Court, whether it's local district judges, is the appointing entity or individual doesn't always get what he expects or she expects. We have Supreme Court justices.
Justice John Kennedy.
Yeah,
or not John
you
Kennedy,
appoint somebody that
Anthony
you
Kennedy,
think is leaning one way or another, and then they get on this bench and they're there for life. They can do whatever they want, and they lean another direction. So politics in the judiciary makes me uneasy, but it is like you said, it's the stripes on the tiger.
I have a homework assignment for you if you're up for it.
Lovely.
To this question and also to our discussion, in some states, Nebraska being one that comes to mind, but I know there's more than just one, you have to run for judge the first time.
Right.
After that, there is a judicial review panel that is nonpartisan, that has legal scholars, professors.
That rank you?
And they rate whether you should stay in office or not. And after that, every 2 years,
Initial review.
they do it and decide whether you should stay. Now, is this a better system? Are these judges overturned less than elected judges?
Well, here it is. If you're a judge that does the right thing, you're calling balls and strikes based on law. And you're going to get overturned, right? Because I don't mind a judge being overturned. Now, if your judge is always overturned, it starts raising questions. The problem is some judges, and I will not name names, some judges only care about getting reelected. It's their rod and staff, right? It's their salary, it's their retirement, it's their benefits. And so they make decisions based on what will put me in a position with my constituency that elects me to get me reelected. So I will tell you right now, I like that, assuming that your cadre, your committee, your band of brothers and sisters that are making that decision are not politicized and not doing anything for any other reason than the good of the judiciary. So,
Franz, we thank you for being with
gentlemen,
us.
I will see you guys later at the Fête
See you at
Rouge.
L'Auberge.
Y'all have a good one.
Before we get to Laurie Adams, who is
Got
running
something
for
breaking?
judge, breaking news, big news. David Koch, the billionaire businessman and philanthropist,
Koch brothers?
who along with his brother Charles, and has been an influential donor to conservative and Republican causes, has died. This from 11 minutes ago. His brother Charles announced it. There is no other information than that on this story right now.
Wow.
But the Koch brothers, and what was it? 2 election cycles ago, everybody started referring to the
evil
Koch brothers.
Koch
Yeah,
brothers,
the evil Koch brothers. David Koch has died. No other. I mean, this doesn't even give his age. I would imagine in his 70s. Huh?
I think that they're both up in their 70s.
Yeah. So no other information. So as we get more from that, we will pass that along. Right now,
This nice lady joining us at the table is Laurie White Adams, a candidate for the state legislature.
Hi,
Thank
Laurie.
You
Thank you for
being with us
having me.
today.
It's great to be here.
good to see you. Point that mic right at your mouth. Just move it. Yeah,
Like
there
right
you
here.
go.
Yeah,
Right
you
there.
really lean into it. It'll get you.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll be able to hear you. All right. So tell us about your district. or the district you hope to represent?
Absolutely. My district is 68. It is an interesting district. It runs all the way from the parade grounds at LSU, cuts a swath through the middle of South Baton Rouge, all the way almost to Blue Bayou at the corner of Highland and Perkins Road. So it has great neighborhoods like South Downs, Hundred Oaks, Glenmore Place, part of the Garden District. Jefferson Terrace is where I live. Westminster Pine Park, Essen Lane, Segan Lane, Bluebonnet. It's a great district, great people.
Now, is this an open seat?
It is an open seat. Steve Carter has held this seat for 12 years. He's term limited.
Term limited and running for Senate in
Yes,
District 16.
absolutely. And so it's an open seat. We're going to have new representation, and I hope it's going to be me.
So what made you decide to run for this office?
Wow, that it seems like it'd be an easy question, but it can be a hard question at times. I think most immediately the thing that pushed me to run is I have an 18-year-old, oh gosh, she turned 19 yesterday. I have a 19-year-old daughter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and a 22-year-old son. And they're both at LSU, and I am watching their friends and kids that they grew up with leave Louisiana for better jobs and opportunities in other states. So and it's hard. It's hard to watch these great kids, especially, tops. I can remember 20 years ago, we were talking about the brain drain and how kids were graduating from high schools and they were going to colleges and universities all over the country. The best and brightest were leaving us, and so we passed TOPS, and TOPS did what it was supposed to do. Kids, really smart, great kids, had been staying here and attending our colleges and universities here. But a lot of them are leaving right after they graduate because they're finding better jobs and opportunities elsewhere.
There's not good job opportunities in Louisiana at
Absolutely. We have some limits. So, and looking around, I don't know if you can just kind of feel it. You can kind of feel like Louisiana losing ground. You feel, Texas, just churning, Alabama. And there've got to be some things we can do here, right?
Well, last year, or I guess maybe this was 2017, they announced it in late 2018. They counted 27,000 and change that left Louisiana.
Yeah.
And if you look at who left, it is the younger professionals.
Absolutely.
People who are good taxpayers.
Absolutely.
People who create jobs.
Absolutely.
And they are going primarily to either Birmingham,
Yes.
Atlanta,
Yes.
or to East Texas, to Dallas and Houston.
Absolutely.
Which
Yes.
means we're losing engineers,
Yes.
we're losing accountants,
We are.
we are losing young physicians.
Absolutely.
We are losing business entrepreneurs or
We are.
headquarters employees for businesses.
We are.
And the problem is this is happening at the same time that we're expanding Medicaid and that 27% of our population is on some sort of public assistance.
Absolutely.
And if you are elected, you are going to have a big fight on your hands from those that want to expand Medicaid further and have more people dependent on the legislature for their paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to tell you, I grew up in Birmingham, so it is so interesting to watch people that I went to college with here. They now live in Birmingham and know people that I knew growing up. So I'm acutely aware of people leaving the state to go elsewhere. Absolutely. So, I've only been in this campaign for 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, and I'm learning things like crazy. But people tell me that about half of our revenue that comes into Louisiana is spent on health care. That's unsustainable, and it's not all federal dollars. We have got to become a society of producers. There is great dignity and nobility in work. And we have got to do a better job of educating our kids, and we've got to do a better job of providing job opportunities for families in Louisiana, so that entitlements, transfer payments are only a safety net, not a hammock. And of course, you said a hammock. Is it really even a hammock? I can't imagine that it's a great life to live receiving benefits. It lacks a certain. I think there's something wonderful about waking up, working really hard, taking care of your family, and going to bed tired, and waking up and doing it the next day again. And I think we need to embrace that as a core value.
There's dignity to having work and knowing that you're earning your own way.
Absolutely, and that you're needed. we need everybody in Louisiana, every single person. We need to be educated, engaged, and working to push our cities and our state and our country ahead. Absolutely.
What do you think beyond the budget and how it's spent is going to resonate with the voters in your district? From what you described, I'm thinking you've probably got one of the most fully employed districts.
Yes.
So you've got people that are going to work every day.
Absolutely.
And maybe paying private school tuition
Sure.
and things
small
like
business
that.
owners, and yes.
So what do you think resonates with them?
I'll tell you what the small business owners, what resonates with them is simplifying the tax code. So small business owners, when I'm knocking on doors, they tell me that our tax code is a labyrinth of regulation, and at times they've been frustrated because it seems like even the employees at Revenue and Taxation may not fully understand the tax code that they have been handed. So they want to see, and they've got friends and family members who live in other states and have businesses in other states, and they say, come on over here, the water's great, it's so much easier. So they tell me that a simplified tax code would make a huge difference. Not that they mind paying taxes, that's part of life, right? It's part of a community and supporting the state government and the city government, and that matters. But they want it to be simple to navigate and not be punitive.
Simplifying the tax code builds trust with the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
The more convoluted something is, the more you're thinking, if you have a paranoid streak at all, you're thinking, they're making this complicated, so I won't know where the money's going.
Absolutely.
And it's a question everyone asks. We've got a $32 billion annual budget.
Yes.
Where the hell does all that money go?
Yes, yes.
I know a lot of it's federal pass-through, but still,
is.
where does it go?
Absolutely. Well, I don't think it's going where people want it to go. I mean, half of it goes to healthcare. A good portion of it, goes to education. But are we really meeting our priorities? No, we have a $14 billion log of infrastructure projects that needs to be done. I mean, it's drive around Louisiana. Things are crumbling, and yet the way we're set up and financially, we're not able to attack and work on our infrastructure problems. And guess what? We're not going to be able to bring businesses here until our infrastructure is fixed and we're moving in the right direction.
I don't want to attack any of the advertising I'm seeing in the governor's race. We have not seen too much advertising yet for state representative races or state senate races. The gubernatorial candidates are going to get out in front and do it first.
Right.
But there is a spot for Governor Edwards that's running, and there is a middle-aged lady, Caucasian lady, talking about how she got cancer and that she had to choose between, going bankrupt or getting her cancer treatment until the Medicaid was expanded. And now, she's just fine.
Right.
And not to put too fine a point on it, I don't know of any political solution to cancer treatment for the indigent that is beyond what is already being done.
Right.
I know that Mary Bird Perkins, Our Lady of the Lake,
Yes.
provides cancer treatment to those who can't afford it. I
Yes.
know that MD Anderson does.
Yes.
The thing is, back, I guess it was 2 special sessions ago, people will die.
Right.
And on our radio show, and I said, who?
Right. Yeah.
And I got a lot of double talk. And the trouble is, you're running in a district that I don't think is frightened by this rhetoric. But there are a lot of people in more economically compromised areas.
Oh, that just pushes
Sure.
their buttons.
Yeah, that might buy into it.
I think that's where we've gotten to in our politics. We tell an outlier story, and then we try to pretend like that is the choice, the thing that is facing each and every one of us. We've got to begin to govern from the common sense place and what is best for the whole. When you're governing to make sure that these outlying situations are you can't. It just doesn't make good sense. And I'm not getting to see any advertising because I'm knocking on doors.
Are you? Well, I would
I'm
imagine.
not watching TV.
Yeah. So I don't. I never bothered to ask this, but I would assume you're not running unopposed. If there is a Democrat that's running
Yes,
against you.
I wish I was running unopposed. No, there are multiple people in this race. 3 Republicans and two Democrats. So Tommy Dewey, a local attorney, Scott McKnight, who is from with Brighton Percy Insurance. I think it's BXS Insurance.
Yes, and he's run before for something, I believe.
He did.
Yes.
He ran against Dan Clater
Yes.
4 years ago. And then Taryn Branson, a local attorney, is a Democrat, and then also Joshua Feeney is a Democrat in the race. So it's a full field.
So
It's a
there's
full
5
field.
of you.
There's 5. It's yes.
Wow.
It's a hard race. It's a competitive
But you
race.
being the lone female, right?
The lone Republican female, Taryn Branson, I'm sorry, is an African American female. Yes,
So
the 2 girls, 2 ladies.
how does your district break down racially and income wise?
You know, the district, I haven't really paid. Income-wise, the median income is pretty significant. I mean, I think the last time I looked at it, in the mid-60s or the mid-70s. I mean, it's a very
That's really
affluent
significant, yes.
district. I have not paid attention to the racial. I haven't paid attention to the racial makeup at all. In my world, people are people are people, and I'm just out there talking to anybody and everybody because here's the deal: the solutions for Louisiana, the budget, taxes, tort reform, they don't have to be Republican and Democrat solutions. They're common sense solutions. So we're just carrying our common sense
But
message.
there's no political cachet in saying I worked with the other party to make this happen.
Yeah.
For either one.
Here's
for
your
either
common
party.
sense today.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. I hope we can return to a time where people are people are people, and we can sit down and have discussions about ideas and about philosophy rather than personalities and parties. I know. I mean, I'm a dreamer.
Now, if you're elected, you're going to be going into the boys' club. I mean,
Sure.
I know that there's fairly good female representation, but it's back on the incline where
Yes.
at one time it was like rock bottom. There were only a handful of women in the legislature. As a woman, how are you planning on dealing with that? Because I've seen it happen. They
Right.
will,
Sure.
they will figuratively beat up on you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's ever benefited a man to beat up on a woman, but again, people are people are people.
I've seen some hugely disrespectful moments in
Yeah.
that building.
Well, and that's, to me, that doesn't reflect on me. I'm sure
not on
those
you at
moments
all.
will feel painful, but I don't. It's not that is it reflects poorly on those individuals. So again, people are people. People, women have the vote. Women are educated. Women are more than half of the employed people in this country, and it is definitely time that we had a seat at the table.
And they outlive us.
Yes.
That's true. That's true. Women are becoming influential in philanthropy. They're influential in education. They're influential in business. Becoming more and more influential in business. And it's time that women were influential in the State House. But again, people are people are people. Everybody should be at the table and part of the common sense solutions that we need.
How much of your district, and not that it matters because you would be a state representative elected, how much of your district would be in what we would call St. George?
It's a good portion.
Good portion.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but I mean probably half would be in St. George, maybe 40%.
Does that change
Yeah.
the dynamic as we come to an election right now? As you're out knocking on doors, are the folks you're talking to very, very focused on that and maybe not so much on the state representative race or the Senate race?
A few people have been. We haven't had as many questions about St. George as I expected. But what I'm seeing in my neighborhood is that issue is just really starting to heat up. I'm just now seeing yard signs and meetings and I guess rallies for differing points of view on St. George. So I think it's going to affect turnout. I definitely think I think we're going to see a really high turnout in the St. George area.
Rough question. Are you going to try to avoid that if people press you to step down on one side or the other on that issue?
Well, the great thing about it is that it's in the hands of the people at this point. So democracy is working.
You're going to get hit
and
with
the
the question,
people,
are you for it or are you against it?
Absolutely, I've definitely had, and so this is what I've been telling people. It really is not. it's not the time for politicians to be, and gosh, I'm a politician now. How did that happen?
How about that, huh?
How did that happen? It's not
Well,
the time for politicians to
You
be.
get points because you're the first one who sat where you sat who said, I'm not a politician. I said, yeah, you are. You're running for
I
office.
know I am. By definition, I am. Anyway, I don't
Well,
know.
at least you're not a career
I
politician.
am not a career
Well, not
politician.
yet.
I know. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that in 4 years. We'll see.
That's the funny thing about that phrase, career politician. It's usually pejorative
Yes.
in its application.
Yes.
And it's anybody who's running for so much as re-election to a second term.
You
is
become a
suddenly
career politician, exactly. Which hopefully it would just be experienced, an experienced public servant.
Is it not possible for someone to want to be a career public servant?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Which there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And then we have some great career public servants who've added great benefit. But I do understand. I think what people, when they say career politician, people are concerned about just status quo, not thinking outside the box, or being locked in with special interests. I think is what they're using
Spending
that.
4 years pursuing re-election.
Yes, exactly, absolutely. So I definitely see that. I think it's time that nobody needs to hear from the politicians where they are on this issue because it's in the hands of the people. And so this is the moment when the people get to tell the politicians, hey guys, this is where we are and this is what we want. And so whatever the St. George area votes for is what I'm gonna support. I mean, it's the people.
Has LABI endorsed in your race yet, or are you still waiting on hearing that?
I have heard a rumor they did, but I haven't had confirmation. Have you heard anything?
We
No.
have some friends over there, but we haven't heard anything yet. Is there any, I know you've probably given this some thought, if elected, what bills would you like to file? What would you like to see the legislature take on and possibly pass? Any you can tell us about?
So really at this point, I mean, I really am new to all this, so I'm talking in principles and ideas. I would.
Don't worry, you'll have staff to write that stuff.
I
for
know.
you.
Yes, I know some people down there who are super
Yeah.
smart people.
Yeah, it's
and
one
know
of the
how
best
to.
things at the Capitol is the staff.
Absolutely, there's some amazing staff at the Capitol, really dedicated public servants down there. So my focus is on the budget. I would like to see us have at least a limited constitutional convention. I think there are some very foundational things that are broken. I think we need to take the dedicated funds out of the Constitution. But you can do those things statutorily, but you also need to have, we are a boom and bust economy. We're based on oil and gas. You can't have things locked up to where you cannot take a percentage off everybody's budget when a bust time comes. But also, we've got to increase our rainy day fund. So I've been told that, economies like ours need to have, at least 25% of 1 year's revenues put aside.
At least.
When a bust economy comes. I want to see our tax code simplified. I know it's going to be a slogfest to get that done, but I want to see it, and I want to see tort reform. That is one of the things that I'm hearing from people. Auto insurance. When people move into, when a company hires somebody and brings them in from another state, the sticker shock they get is that their auto insurance is almost twice what they're paying in the state they've come from.
Oh, yeah.
Families in this city are acutely aware of the fact that they're paying for us to be a very litigious society. They're paying for that industry, and they want to see that go away.
Well, and we're also, in terms of automobile insurance, we are paying for bad drivers that are allowed to continue on the road and allowed to continue to cause accidents and injuries. It is a shame that we have so many drivers, and generally speaking, if you do something really dangerous like speed through, a very congested area, and you do get a ticket, it's a slap. It's not something that makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got to change that, and we've got to fix our tort laws here. So other states don't have these problems that we're having. There's a roadmap.
It's got to be daunting. I've seen so many legislators, especially new ones, first-termers, that they go in and they've got a good bill. It's a good bill. And they go in there and committee crushes it.
Yeah.
They either just vote it down out of hand,
Sure.
or they involuntarily table the bill. And that's the sort of thing, it's like, it's gotta crush your soul to see that happen.
I certainly that's certainly one of the things I lay about in bed at night and think, oh my goodness, how will that be if that happens? But 40% of the legislature is going to turn over this year because of term limits.
Well-
I'm optimistic that we're going to have a new crew in there who's willing to debate and talk.
And again, I hope the new crew has enough sense to stop all this sponsoring a constituent asked me to make,
Yes,
brown
right.
mustard illegal on Tuesdays. These kind of things are just
Right.
killer. Years and years ago, I interviewed a state representative from Laplace, and he was a criminal defense attorney by trade, and his rapist client got convicted, and he lost an appeal, and so he sponsored a bill in the House of Representatives to give this convicted rapist that he couldn't get off with his legal skills clemency.
Wow.
And somebody saw it, thank God.
Yeah.
And I said, why would you do that?
Wow.
You're an officer of the court, you're a state legislator. And he said, well, he asked me to.
Wow. Wow.
And someone who thinks very highly of you, Representative Paula Davis,
I've heard she's great.
when Ronnie Johns was doing that dumbass stripper bill,
Yeah.
she and I talked about it, and she said it's a blackmail bill. You have to vote for it.
How can you not?
How can you not? And
You'll look like a jerk if you vote against it.
I'm asking everybody who is running, if they get
Wow.
elected, I'm asking them all to introduce the same bill.
Right.
That if one of your colleagues writes an unconstitutional bill and it has to be defended
Yes.
by outside counsel, I want them to have to bear the court costs, not the state of Louisiana.
Oh,
And that'll cut
sure.
down on that stuff.
That would definitely cut down. Well, and I think, when you start to see bills like some of the bills we saw this year that were just, I don't know, I would call them frivolous bills, that to me just indicates great stress. And what do you do when you're super, super stressed out and you don't want to deal with the big things at hand? You do silly things. So to me, seeing those bills just indicated, wow, we're in trouble, guys. Like, it's so scary that y'all can't face it.
So can we rest assured that we won't be getting any bills to introduce the state blank or
I promise you.
rename a section of highway?
Yeah, I'm not interested
The
in
state
that.
harmonica.
I'm
Yeah.
not interested. I mean, I work at a school. I can do cutesy things all the time. I'm running for legislature because I want to do serious and hard things. And I think we've gotten to a place where we've got to have people stand up and say, "Hey, guys, I'm willing to do what needs to be done. I'm willing to have hard conversations. I'm willing to make weighty decisions. I'm willing to do whatever is necessary to turn this ship around. There's too much at stake." So I want my kids to have good jobs. I want your kids to have good jobs. I want for other states to say, "Oh, we're frustrated. People keep moving to Louisiana. We got to stop this." That's what I want to see.
Laurie White Adams is running for state representative, District 68. It is a crowded field.
By the way, you said you worked at a school. You a teacher or an administrator?
I'm an administrator.
Can I ask
Yes.
what school? Or?
Absolutely. I work at Parkview Baptist School. I'm director of advancement for
good school,
them.
great
Very
school.
good school. Great place to work.
Director of Advancement. That's great because obviously you've done your job very well there because they keep growing and expanding.
We are. We've got a project that's going to finish up in just a couple weeks.
And
it's a great place to
academically,
be.
you do quite well over there as well.
Very well.
Well, we thank
Great
you so much
kids.
for spending some time with us this morning. We
Thank you
wish
for having me.
Good luck in the campaign. We do this with every candidate. If someone who is running against you would like to come on this program and talk as well, just reach out to us via this Facebook page, and we'll make it happen. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us, and I'm sure with 5 people in, likely to be a runoff, so I'm sure we will see you again.
Yes, I hope so. Let's make that
Yes.
runoff.
Thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about this breaking news on David Koch.
By the way, Kate said one of our viewers, Kate, said
79, yes.
79 years of age.
79 years of age. It was announced by his brother, Charles. He stepped down last year from running the family business with his brother, Koch Industries, an energy and chemical corporation. Charles is the company's chairman and chief executive officer now. They were the 11th richest brothers in the world, according to Forbes. At the time of his death, David Koch, are you ready? Worth $42.4 billion.
Holy mackerel.
They were also great big supporters of Republican and conservative causes over the years. They also led the nonprofit Americans for Prosperity network. They spent more than $1 billion over the past 3 or 4 election cycles to support candidates that adhere to their free market, small government, almost libertarian type ideals. They did not, however, support President Trump. They didn't like the idea of tariffs that he was floating, which is very, very interesting. David Koch actually ran as the Libertarian Party's vice presidential candidate in 1980. He and Ed Clark won about 1% of the vote.
Man, those libertarians are coming on strong.
Apparently, he died of a recurrence of prostate cancer, but they are not saying that specifically. So,
Well, sorry at his passing.
well, you know, I always I found it very, very interesting that people would get very, very upset whenever the Koch brothers gave political money. They would scream and yell and howl, and it seemed that was exclusive to them. That you know.
Well, they would conveniently forget about people like Tom Steyer and George Soros, who were the liberal equivalents of the Koch brothers, pumping money into liberal agendas and campaigns in the same fashion.
Yeah,
and controlling them behind the scenes.
Yeah, in the 2014 elections across the country, they put up $889 million, which equaled the spending of the Republican and Democrat National Committee spending.
Wow.
A lot of money. But then again, they had a lot of money, and this is a free country, so...
They're the Koch brothers libertarians, but they do tend to lean to the right. And when they're picking a horse in a race, they tend to go for that Republican. Yeah, the evil Koch brothers. How many times have I actually heard the word evil mentioned before their names? The evil Koch brothers.
Well, and you
it's
know...
like, what's any more evil about them than the other people that are donating for the other side?
Well, you know, I guess the people who make a lot of money are evil by nature, and they shouldn't donate evil money to
their big crime
evil
is
candidates.
They've got more money than you.
Yeah, that pretty much speaks to what their big crime is. Anyway, I mean, like I said, I never followed them that closely. I am a person who has never, ever, ever gotten involved with people that give money to federal elections. I just thought it was a waste of time to try to vet everybody and what they did with their own money and who they chose to support. Now, I follow a lot more closely people who give in local elections because these are likely to be people that I meet on the street or that I know, or I know something about them, or operate businesses here, and I know a lot more about the candidates, and I wonder how much influence you can buy in a local election. I mean, these guys couldn't buy any influence in a federal election. They could have put all, $5 billion, $10 billion into a federal candidate for president, and I don't think you ever buy influence. I think that the influence is that, maybe you get invited to the White House for dinner, maybe he treats you or she treats you like a friend, but because you've got a huge policy machine that the president is sitting on top of. And you've seen how often, and I'm not saying any particular president, because they have all taken a swing at making policy from the Oval Office, and they've all pretty much gotten their hands slapped over it when they do. This is supposed to be a consensus government with 3 branches.
Yeah, but we have a branch right now, and for the last several years, that's been pretty much gridlocked, and that's why they try to make policy from the Oval Office.
But let me ask you, I mean, do you agree with me that the Koch brothers or George Soros or any of those people really can't impact policy? They can impact getting the word out about a certain candidate, because that money is spent basically helping the candidates run. But can they, after the fact, really impact policy that much?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
See,
Let's take a topic like gun control or gun seizure. If the check is big enough, can they go, now you get in there and you get those damn guns? Is that the way it works? Can it work that way?
Well, look at it this way. I actually think the person who had the most influence on national policy in the last 20 years was Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia. because why George W. did not launch on 9/12 when he damn well should have and would have been perfectly justified in the eyes of the world for doing it, and because the Bush family, through his dad, was very fond of the Saudis and Prince Bandar, and he probably didn't give a nickel.
It's all about relationships,
About relationships.
not necessarily about the money.
It's about relationships. And not only that, but I mean, you also don't want to be the first president since Harry Truman to launch a massive strike against another nation.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. You know, we've got the nukes, but like you just said, who wants to be the first guy in 75 years to use one?
Well, I always joke, and I mean it as a joke, but it's a joke with a point. Whenever something happens in Japan that is not pleasing to the United States or to me, and I say, well, you know, we could drop another egg.
Yeah, we did it before.
Yeah. Remember, we are the only nation in the world that has ever deployed nuclear weapons.
Or as Dennis Leary, the comedian, says, because we've got the bombs.
Because we've got
nuclear effing weapons.
But anyway, so Mr. Koch is dead. His brother Charles announced it. There will be more, I'm sure. But I think unless they find some mysterious circumstances, this will last one day in the news cycle and it will go away.
Well, especially with the news media that we have today. He's prominent in the conservative right, which means it'll get a footnote. It'll be, now this. By the way, one of the evil Koch brothers dead. Now this.
Yeah. I didn't get any money. Now this. I think they're a lot more interested right now in who tied the knot around Jeffrey Epstein's neck.
Boy, this is a story that is not going to go away anytime soon.
Let me tell you what, those people working that jail, they've been witch hunt. There have been acquisition after acquisition.
I'd like to get an ME, maybe, I don't know if Bo Clark would feel comfortable talking about this, but someone who knows forensic medicine to come in and talk about the fact that his hyoid bone was crushed.
Well, that's common.
And is that consistent with hanging, which they said he did, or is that consistent with strangulation?
Well, see, he jumped. He jumped into the knot.
Jumped into the knot.
Yeah.
From what? A bunk bed.
From a bunk bed.
5 feet in the air.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll do it.
Well, I can see where it would do it, but I smell a serious rat.
Well,
Jeff Epstein.
What happened?
They arranged to leave him alone in his cell.
The
He was
rat.
not supposed to be alone in his
The
cell.
rat is outside. Is outside the prison. This was a Frankie Pantangeli plea bargain. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what this was. It's like, it would be best for everybody, including your family and your close friends, if this never came to trial, if you were never called to testify.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to make that happen.
No. I mean, he decided to make it happen. I mean, his ego was such as well that he wanted to preserve his fortune.
Are you telling me, though, that you believe he actually committed suicide? Or
No, I think he committed suicide. I think he was.
I think he got whacked.
No, he was encouraged to commit suicide. He was. There were people that said it would probably be best, and you don't want to run all of your friends through the mud, and you don't want to run yourself through the mud. So, we're going to get you a copy of The Godfather 2. just go to the last 5 minutes.
I don't buy it. I think it was more like, Bill, Hillary, if I'm going down, I'm dragging you with me.
Nah.
Next thing you know, he gets a visitor.
Nah. There were no visitors. They've got good video on that. But the 3 people that were supposed to be watching him left him alone for 3 hours.
Well, interesting.
And
I'm going to say something terrible. Given the guy's track record and what he's accused of and what evidence they have, I'm kind of glad he's dead.
Well,
I don't need a lot of people like that walking the earth.
I really think, and there are people who say, oh, the victims deserve a trial, and you know what? Either way, the outcome's the same. But I do think that in open court we would have found out whether or not some of his known associates were in fact his known associates. I mean, the hell's Prince Andrew? Well, the last time anybody saw him in media was when he was waving goodbye to whoever she was from Epstein's door. I mean,
but remember what we used to call him, Randy Andy.
Randy Andy,
So,
well.
it doesn't surprise me he'd hang with a Jeff Epstein.
Oh, well, anyway. That does it for us today. Thanks for joining us. You can watch it again on YouTube. Just go to the K&B podcast.
Yep. See the sign? Do that.
And we'll be back on Tuesday. In the meantime, have a good weekend. For those of you going to Fête Rouge this evening, We will see you there.
Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye.